You do have to have a master electrician license to have your own business, because to have your own business, to pull permits, you have to have a contractor's license. You have to have a master license to get the contractor license. So if that's a route someone wants to go, they do have to pass that exam.
So if they pass that test, then they have achieved master electrician status?
Yeah, really above that, you can get into credentials for being an inspector if you want. The master exam is the first step towards that, if that's the route you want to go.
You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie, and downloadable audio episodes can be found in the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Today we're welcoming / preparing to learn from Cole McCloskey of the Electrician Inc. And we are talking construction, electricity, all the good stuff. So Cole, how is it going today?
Going very well. Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about the foundation. What is the Electrician Inc?
So we are a full services electrical contractor. We do jobs large and small across all sectors, from residential to commercial to industrial. We do also fire alarm and low voltage access control systems. So we cover a wide variety of the market in that way. But just a full services electrical contractor is what we are.
Right on. And how did you get into that?
Well, I grew up in the industry, so my father has worked for a construction company for his entire life. So growing up, right about the time I was old enough to grab a hammer and swing it, he was teaching me how to do that. So that was pretty cool to grow up in the industry and just be interested in what it's like to work with your hands. So I would help him out with roofs and woodworking projects and remodels and all kinds of different things. That was really cool. And so I knew I wanted to get into a field that allowed me to do that when I became an adult. And long story short, I ended up, through a family friend, finding the Electrician Incorporated and talking to the owner, who's now my business partner. So I'm sure we'll get into that piece of things. But just worked there for a summer in high school and fell in love with it, and just really enjoyed not only working with my hands, but kind of having to learn how electricity works and circuitry and controls and things like that. It's just always really intrigued me, and ever since I started, I've really enjoyed it and loved it.
Nice. I played a little bit in the construction game, and I gotta say, electrical stuff seems like way more fun than plumbing.
It depends, but yeah, I think for the most part, especially the service side, I think plumbing can get it to be a little bit of a nasty job sometimes.
I would much rather replace a light switch than unclog a toilet.
Yes, definitely.
So that's just where I'm at, so I think you picked the right road.
Mad respect for plumbers because of
Absolutely.
That. Because of that.
You know, it's funny, I was hanging wire at this bank, low voltage stuff, and there's a guy that was way up high, this fancy atrium type thing, and he's putting in the sprinkler pipe.
Sure.
Like the iron sprinkler pipe, he's got to thread it and all that kind of stuff, and it's just him up there. And I'm like, I got to shake this wire, right? This low voltage, super flimsy, easiest thing in the world to do. And I'm like, I guess I won there.
Yeah. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. We end up running rigid pipe like that for certain things, but yeah, that just the noise of the fittings that they put on that sprinkler pipe. My brother actually is a sprinkler fitter too.
Oh, he is? Okay.
Yeah. So him and I, give each other grief and good fun about the different trades. But yeah, there's a lot of there's a good combination, I think, in the electrical field of using your hands. It is hard work, or can be really hard work at times, but there's a lot of thinking ahead, using your brain, really thinking through an installation before you start it, those kinds of things. And I just, like I said before, I really have always liked that piece of it.
Yeah, that's cool. So is the Electrician Inc. franchise, or is it just...
No.
Okay.
No, we're actually not. No, it was founded by my business partner, Brent Yockler, by himself in 2004.
Okay.
He was one man and one van.
Best way to start.
He's got a last name that's a little bit hard to pronounce and spell, and I just don't know that he wanted to be like I don't think he wanted to be like everyone else and have, Yockler Electric, right?
Sure.
So, he just came up with the Electrician Inc. and it's stuck with us and it's done well. There's no confusion about what we do.
Not at all, right? Unless
Right.
you guys did plumbing and they're like, wait, what?
Right? Yeah. This is a little weird.
Yeah.
So as we've expanded our market services, we've or different scopes of work into kind of the more specialty. We do some specialty testing and maintenance and safety compliance within the electrical realm. And then obviously we're getting into more and more of the low voltage systems. So we've talked about certain marketing techniques that might better explain that.
Sure,
with
that's
our
fair.
name. But in general, I think we've got decent brand recognition, specifically in Dane County, with our the construction side and the service side of things, and it's gone well for us.
Nice. So tell me a story about how you bought in as a partner.
Yeah, so I started with the electrician, as I said, for a summer in high school and loved it, and so got to develop a good relationship with Brent. And as I went through my last year of high school, I really kind of made the decision that this is what I was going to pursue, at least at first. And
That field or being a partner?
No, I'm sorry. The field, the electrical field.
Got it.
And so I talked with him about the possibility of doing my apprenticeship schooling and training through the company, and he said absolutely, 100% would love that. So graduated high school on a Friday, came to work on Monday for him, and worked my way through the apprenticeship program, which was 5 years. Ended up testing out for my master electrician license. And then at that point, I actually decided that I really wanted to go and start my own business. I've always really enjoyed freedom, and not I'm just not a person that wants to punch a clock. It's nothing against people that do, or anything like that. It's just for me, it was, I would rather deal with any of the headaches or the challenges of owning or being on my own or being able to kind of control my own destiny than I would having the more secure route. And it's pretty common with entrepreneurs. So that was me.
It better be, yeah.
Right, yeah. I mean, you have to have that mentality towards it. And so I left on really good terms in 2016. And so it was about 2011 that I started. It was about 2016, early 2017 that I decided to go out on my own. And left on really good terms. I've always believed in not burning bridges as much as you can in business and just in life. Try not to ever burn bridges. So Brent and I stayed really close, and he was actually, even though I was sort of going out and being a competitor, he was really a mentor for me. He would allow me we'd meet up for a drink once in a while. Him and I also have some real estate endeavors outside of the electrician, so we would meet and talk, and he would let me bounce all the things off of him that I was doing wrong, and he would give me some good advice. So that was good. So we kept a good relationship, and then a couple years later, I think he had decided that he wanted to really try to grow the company. He had done a good job of growing it from himself to, having, I think at the time that I had left, there was roughly 30, 35 employees.
Oh, wow.
Doing some bigger projects,
Okay.
doing some different types of work. So that was, so he had done an excellent job on his own, really getting it there and building a good team around him. But I think he wanted to have someone to help continue that growth and thinking long term about what does it look like in the future and having someone as a succession plan. So we discussed that for a relatively short amount of time, and then decided that it would be a good idea for both of us. And I know for me, and I think he would say the same thing if he was sitting here right now, it's been the best decision that we've made. In the course of 5 years, the first 5 years that we were partners in the business, we tripled the size of the company and
Wow.
expanded into different markets, and I've built an excellent team around us. Our team today is just excellent, both on the field and on the management side. So that's the short version of. There's a lot of things in between there that we could go into, but that's how the progression came from me working there when we were really small. I think when I started we had 4 employees, and now we have almost 100. So,
Dang.
yeah.
I had no idea it was that big.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, congrats. That's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Tell me a story. You started your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So did that not take off, or what were the challenges there?
No, we did. I did pretty well. I had honestly had no real idea what I was doing from a business management standpoint. I knew the electrical
Totally
side.
typical.
It was just, hey, I need to charge more than I'm paying to do this stuff, right? And obviously, knowing what I know now, there was a lot of things I could have done differently, but I don't at all regret doing that. I think it was an excellent experience for me. Just, there were jobs where we did really well. There were jobs where I found out just how much I didn't know how to estimate at the time or didn't know how to manage costs or whatever the case might be. But overall, I did very, very well, but it was just one of those things where I was working 80, 90, 100 hours a week, 40 or 50 in the field, and then I'm the estimator, I'm the controller, I'm the CFO, I'm the everything, project manager, service manager. I was everything, and I did have 4 employees when we got back, when I came back in as a partner. But when you're that small, it's just really hard. You don't have the bandwidth to have 10 or 12 office people to help you with everything.
Right.
So I think that the quality of life improvement combined with the fact that I knew that there was just a lot of knowledge gaps that I had around the management of the business and management of even the work, just the pure job management and tools you can use and tips and tricks and things like that. So
when you went off on your own, did you hire employees right away, or you built up?
Yeah, I hired one right away and then kind of slowly used temporary labor here and there, and then ended up hiring a couple more as time went on.
Okay.
So
how did you convince that first one to join you? Because you're like, hey man, I've never had a business. I'm an electrician, master. Jump on the bus with me. Let's go take over the world.
Well, I found that's a very long story in of itself. But basically, one of my customers, her son was 16 or 15 when I was just by myself in my truck, doing some electrical work for her, and she's like, my son really wants to be an electrician. And I was kind of having one of those days where I'm like, God, I really don't need a job shadower right now. I just need to get this done. But I let him shadow me and kind of ask questions and things like that. And he would help me out on like side jobs or doing things on the weekends. And he just was a really hard worker and took to it, and still great friends with him to this day. But he was the first employee, so it was easier to convince him because he had already worked with me, and I think he could see where my head was at. I was very willing to share with him the reason, because he would ask me, why are you doing this? Like, why aren't you just working your 40 hours and going home? And
fair question, right?
Fair question, right? Because at the time, I was working full time and trying to build my own customer base. And
oh wow!
And this before I had left and went on my own. That's how I built up the customer base, was doing side work essentially. And he would ask me, why are you doing this, right? And again, fair question. But I would explain that this is how I want to ultimately build my own business and things like that. So. That was how I got my first employee, and then, like I say, I utilized some temporary labor resources, and then actually I had then as time went on, and I think people that I still knew from the electrician could see that, oh, this guy's actually seems like he's making it, and a couple of people reached out to me and wanted to work for me, and so I would call Brent and say, hey, just letting you know, this guy came to me, that sort of thing, and that's how the employee relationship came in.
Gotcha.
I think it would be it would have been more difficult if I didn't build those relationships kind of ahead of time, and just convincing some random person to
right.
Just kind of, hey, we're gonna make this happen.
Someone answering the
Craigslist
ad.
Yeah.
Tell me, so you're doing when you went off on your own,
mm-hmm.
how would you market?
Honestly, it was purely like word of mouth.
So word spread that like,
yeah,
hey,
organic.
Cole's out there. He's got his master
Yep.
electrician
Yep.
license.
Yep. And I had a business name.
Okay.
And so they would just refer my business, and then it would kind of go from there. And we could get into the importance of networking, or how I feel the importance of networking has impacted my life. Again, in the entrepreneurial community, I think everybody would agree with that to some level.
It's huge. Yeah, it's not only who you know, but who knows you.
Exactly. And then who do they know?
Correct.
You do a good job for one. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've done an hour service call, whether it was me when I was on my own or us at the electrician. We do an hour service call for someone, and that leads to a multi-year, relationship with whomever, whether it be someone that works at a factory that's always, needing our help, or a large-scale GC, or whatever the case might be. So that was my only marketing, though, was just organic leads.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I want to take a break from the small business side and just learn about the electrician side, the path to become an electrician.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned you get in high school, you graduate high school, you go for your master's. Tell me, because I don't know the game as far as the apprenticeship and earning the master's license. There's steps in there, right?
There is.
And they're pretty rigid, I think, right? You can't just call yourself an electrician.
No.
I don't think you can, right?
I
would
mean,
hope
people
that you
do.
can.
People do.
It's shocking.
But
Sorry, that's bad. Dad jokes will continue.
Dad jokes, yeah. I'll try to come up with them as we talk here. So the process is that you start out as a beginner electrician, and
that's just a guy helping.
Just a helper.
Okay. Hang these boxes on those 2x4s.
Some companies call it a pre-apprentice. The same thing. Yeah, help. Basic stuff. Nail on boxes, put in outlets, with de-energized.
Okay.
Put in receptacle.
Nothing live. Okay.
Yeah, nothing live. And then how we work and how most companies work is you get selected. So you have to prove yourself for a little bit. We typically make people work for 6 to 12 months for us before we select them to be in the apprenticeship program, because it's a privilege. I mean, we're paying for schooling. We're paying them.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. And that's very not everyone does that, and people obviously structure their benefits in all kinds of different ways. But we've decided that that's the best route for us. So when we select someone, we pay for their tuition expense, which is relatively minimal compared to a 4-year, like a 4-year college.
Yeah, what is? I don't even know what that is.
Around a couple thousand a year.
Okay,
a year.
So nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Compared to $200,000 for college
for a
or something
4-year
like
degree.
that.
Right. But it's still, I mean, it's a chunk of money, especially
not
when
free.
you're starting out. When you're starting out a career, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
Let me pause you for a second there. Do you have that employee sign something or agree, like, hey, you're going to stick with us for 5 years or something like that, or you're just hoping that they stick around?
We don't. And I wouldn't necessarily put it like we're hoping they're going to. We obviously do hope they stick around, but my motto and part of our culture really since day one, before I was even at the company, has been one of, if we want team members there that want to be there. So if someone wants to move because their spouse has a better job opportunity, I don't want you to not do that because you're tied to this agreement with me.
Fair.
I don't want you, if you decide that there's a different career path for you, or a different company for that matter, I don't want people beholden with golden shackles because they feel like they signed this agreement, they're gonna have to buy it out or whatever. That's just our motto. Some people, there's definitely companies that do both and all kinds of things in between, and I don't think there's a right or wrong way, but I think for us that's just what we resonate with the most.
Okay.
And
it's been successful.
It's been successful. It's been successful. We will have people from time to time, for whatever reason, that do decide to go a different direction, but it's worked out for us, and that's kind of how we handle it.
Yeah, that's fair. I remember way back when I was a beer delivery driver.
Oh, sure.
And I got the job. I didn't have a CDL. They did the training and went through the testing and stuff like that to get my CDL, and there was no, hey man, you got to stick with us for a certain amount. And to a point, it was somewhat of a revolving door. I'm like, I think you guys get like 100 people a year CDLs.
Yeah.
And maybe 20 are sticking around. But, I mean, it wasn't anywhere near that expensive, but there was still an investment.
Sure.
And they're
Yeah.
just hoping you stick around.
And I think, too, like you talk to a lot of business owners in a lot of different industries that, or I have at least, that tell me the same thing. Turnover is not cheap no matter what.
No.
It's very, very costly. And the hidden costs are hard to quantify a lot of times
Definitely.
with that. So I think for us, the focus has always been how do we retain as many people, as many good people as possible, regardless if they're an apprentice, a master electrician, anywhere in between. We want the good people to stay.
I love that you said good people and not just people.
Right.
We want the good.
Right.
The less than good, we can.
Well, or just, again, there's people that maybe they're trying this out as a career path and they just don't like it. They might not necessarily be a bad person.
Fair. Fair.
Yeah.
Good. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
But yes, we want people that want to be there, want to do the work, want to show up on time, all those
Yeah.
things.
All right. So I interrupted you. So you continue on. You got the person that started out in there.
Yep.
They're doing essentially the grunt work, but just to get a
Yep.
feel for what has to be done. And stuff is not live at that point. And then
Right.
take me down that road more.
Sure. So you go to the schooling portion one day every other week, one full day. So an 8-hour
Okay.
day every 2 weeks during the normal school year. So
And are
usually
these local, in person, remote?
they're local in person.
Okay.
Yeah, the campus that our apprentices go to is MATC Commercial Ave,
Okay.
or Madison College Commercial Ave.
All right.
I'll
And is
always
it?
call MATC.
Are they right? Me too.
Yeah.
Are they physically connecting wires, kind of thing, or is it more textbook type stuff?
It's a mix of both. I would say in the schooling portion, it's more textbook or code book. So we have a set of codes that we have to follow.
All right.
There's a set of standards that's the bare minimum for electrical installations. Plumbers have it, fire protection, sprinkler fitters have it, their own version of that. But we have state codes and the National Electrical Code is what the state adopts.
How
and then
big
the
are we
state-
talking for this book?
It's about like that.
That's a healthy sized book.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And that's
No
the
one-
national, and then a state and county and all that.
The state just adopts the national code and
Okay.
then makes certain small minor adjustments usually. So
Okay.
there's certain things in the National Electrical Code that either don't apply to Wisconsin or maybe Wisconsin needs to be a little more strict on because of our weather conditions or there's all kinds of different factors, or sometimes the state just for whatever reason, politics or whatever else
Sure.
decides to adopt something or not that's in there. But generally speaking, the National Electrical Code's the main code book that we use and have to abide by, and
Gotcha.
that's adopted into law.
Remind me to ask you about Romex, but keep going.
Okay, sounds good. So that's a lot of the code portion is a lot of what is covered in the classroom. They will go through different technical capabilities where you might be hooking up some controls or terminating certain things, but a lot of it's the code to get you into the code, understanding what the code means, applying the code to different situations that you're going to run into in the field, and preparing you to ultimately take the state test when you're ready for it.
All right.
So
And how big of a deal is this test from how easy or difficult is it to pass?
I don't know the statistics right now. I know when I took mine, I believe the first time pass rate for the master's exam was 13%. So it's relatively
13% pass.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to call that a kind of good thing because that means that they're strict.
Yeah, it does.
Or I guess on the flip side, maybe the class needs to be tweaked. I don't know.
Well, I think it's you want the test to be, you want to make sure the people that are taking the test understand the code.
Yeah, I mean, the other side is that either they die or somebody else, or there's a fire or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're passing everyone, but half the buildings are burning down.
Yeah. No, we don't want that. And so it's a difficult exam.
How long of an exam?
It's 4 hours, 50 questions, multiple choice, open book.
4 hours. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. You wouldn't think it would be as difficult as it is. But
What you're talking 13 questions an hour, multiple choice?
yeah, but the multiple choice questions, the funny part of it is the state purposely writes the test, and I've talked to people that help write these tests,
Yeah.
and they'll tell you they will look through, so you'll have to look at different sections of the code and how they correlate to each other, and then there'll be, I'll just use a random example. Let's just say this is not true. So anybody listening, this is what I'm about to say. I'm just making this up. This is not true. But so NM cable or Romex needs to be stapled every 4.5 feet. Well, the code might have an exception that says it doesn't need to be stapled every 4.5 feet in this certain condition. It needs to be stapled every 6 feet. So then they'll write a question that sort of leads you to the first paragraph, and if you don't look at the exception, you're going to get it wrong. Right?
Oh,
so they try to trip you up, and
Okay.
that's a relatively easy example, I guess, what I just shared. But when you get into calculations where you're trying to calculate how big of a service do I need to put on this building, if you misstep because you didn't look at an exception on step 2, and it's a 6-step process you're going through to calculate this service, your answer's wrong, and they'll try to they'll figure it out like, okay, if we do it wrong this way, this is the answer. We're going to make that C.
Oh.
And really the answer's D.
All right.
So it
Difficult test.
seems like it should, just hearing that it's 50 questions, multiple choice, you wouldn't think it would be as difficult.
Yeah, right.
As it
C
is,
across the board.
But that's how they do. But it's good because those things are important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those looking at everything and making sure you're doing things the right way is very important, especially when you're designing. Well, we do a lot of design build work, so we provide essentially the base level engineering of the distribution inside of a building. When you're doing that, it's very, very important that you understand how to do those calculations, how to look at different areas of the code and understand what it means and how to do things the right way. So
Fair. All right. So somebody passes this test after taking it. Is there a limitation or time between each test? Let's say they failed. Do they have to wait a month or 3
no.
months or something?
To my knowledge, no. It's the whole testing process with the state has changed a little bit since I've done it, but I don't believe there's a waiting period. There's certain time slots you have to sign up for that it's available.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
I believe you can sign up immediately. If you fail it once, you can sign up again right away.
All right. And is the test in person?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. So you got to wait for the next test thing or whatever.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So somebody finally passes that test.
Yep.
What's next step?
That's really up to them. The sky's kind of the limit at that point. You do have to have a master electrician license to have your own business, because to have your own business, to pull permits, you have to have a contractor's license. You have to have a master license to get the contractor license. So
Gotcha.
if that's a route someone wants to go, they do have to pass that exam.
So if they pass that test, then they have achieved master electrician status?
Yeah, really above that, you can get into credentials for being an inspector if you want. The master exam is the first step towards that, if that's the route you want to go. Being in the field, it's one of those things that it does demand a little bit more compensation in general, I would say. And then it does help if you're going to be in leadership, even if you're a foreman or a lead service technician or anything like that in the field. Just having that knowledge base and having that broad code understanding is very helpful.
Got it.
So from there, the sky's the limit, but it's really more, at that point, it's more about where do you want to go? Do you want to stay in the field and be a field leader? Do you want to be in the project management side? Estimating. There's a lot of different paths to go once you're kind of past the apprenticeship and able to take the master's exam. And there is a journeyman. You've probably heard of journeyman electrician.
I have, yeah.
So that's sort of like in the trades, I would compare that to like a bachelor's degree, right? So there's nothing wrong with having that credential, especially if you're in the field and you're even if you're a foreman or leading a large crew. Having a journeyman's license is great. It shows it's essentially to show that you know the code and how it applies to putting the installation in the correct way. The master's exam really gets more into calculations and things that you're going to run into if you're designing or mainly design calculations, kind of the next level above. But both licenses are acceptable.
So is journeyman versus master electrician lateral? Is one higher or lower than the other one?
As far as like in our company, like
No. As
is?
far as just if I'm going to hire an electrician, do I want to look for master electrician or journeyman or someone that's got both?
If I'm hiring someone for our company, a master electrician is a little bit higher, but it's not. A lot of it depends on the person.
Okay.
Too. So I've met master electricians out there that they know what they're supposed to do, but they, for whatever reason, choose not to do it, or maybe they're not as motivated. So I don't want to negate the fact that it is a very high credential, very difficult to get there, and it's an accomplishment to have, but it's more important that the person who has it keeps their professional integrity and their work ethic and things like that.
Okay.
For me as an employer, and then for like if you were hiring an electrician to come into your home and do work, if it's a company, they have to have a master electrician to be able to pull a permit.
Got it.
So
okay.
so like our company operates under my master's license. Any other electrical contractor out there should have a master electrician who's the main master electrician for the company that essentially in some ways takes responsibility for the work that's getting done.
Okay.
So that's kind of how that works. But if that company sends a journeyman to your home to do work, I wouldn't judge them as being lesser than by any means,
okay.
just because they have that credential.
And journeyman, is there a test to become a journeyman?
There is, yeah.
Okay.
So same type of test, more questions. So 100 questions in 4 hours, all multiple choice.
All right.
So you get less time per question, but you also, again, I'm not saying it's necessarily an easy test, but it's less like I said, in the master's exam, they like to make you go to all these different sections of the code, and calculations are really heavy, whereas the journeyman's test generally is more just understanding different wiring methods and codes that are more applicable to what you do in the field, generally speaking.
Got it. Do people get both?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You can get both.
Is that common or necessary?
Yeah, I mean, so I took both so I took my journeyman test first, and then I think it was a little over a year later, I took my master's. So now I only keep my master's license current because there's no real
perfect
value.
Segue.
Yeah.
Because I want to know, is there continuing ed and stuff like that, or you have to maintain?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So 24 hours every 2 years.
Okay.
I usually take more because we do a lot of internal training.
Sure.
So I usually have way more CUs.
You want to know what's going on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important because, I mean, even in the time I've been in the trade, the code book has changed, and so the National Electrical Code's published every 3 years. The state can choose to adopt whichever version it wants. So currently in Wisconsin, we're on the 2017 code, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so they're thinking of, from what I hear, they're thinking of adopting the 2023 or 2026 code next. Well, the 2026 code, they've actually restructured the whole layout of the code book. So it's going to be pretty important, because I'm still going to be in the industry, I promise you, that I learn, and me and all the other journeyman and master electricians at least learn the new structure and learn what the updates are and certain things that have changed.
Got it.
So,
interesting.
yeah.
And to get continuing ed, are you going to trade shows, or is it online, or?
There's a lot of options online now. I learn best in person. So the city of Madison, as an example, the city of Madison electrical inspectors actually do a great job of putting on training that you have to pay a relatively nominal fee for, but they put on a training that's generally it's acceptable for continuing education, and it's usually geared towards things that they're seeing out there and what they're looking to see, and common mistakes and common things that they see that are done wrong. And it's really helpful, because as an electrician, then you know, like, okay, I'm working in the same area with these guys, and this is what they're looking for, and this is some common misinterpretations, or whatever the case might be.
And I suppose those are the people that are inspecting your stuff.
Right.
Right? They're under the same umbrella, so
yep.
I feel like it's probably good to learn from them, so that you know specifically what they're looking for,
mm-hmm.
or the mistakes that they're seeing.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
You raised an interesting point now. What are some of the common mistakes you see Just either in the
Oh.
field or if you open up a box and you're like, oh, a homeowner did this on their own.
So I think the most common one I've seen with the homeowner one is if you ever put in like a outlet or a switch, they have little stab it connectors.
Yeah,
Don't use those, would be my suggestion.
because they come out.
They over time they like to come loose, and I've seen a lot of I can't say I've ever seen a fire actually start, but I've seen it close to where the whole outlet was melted. The whole
Oh.
receptacle was melted.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
obviously that's a shock hazard and a fire hazard, and so just don't do that. We see that a lot. It's just something we won't do, even though it's legal, it's code compliant, it's listed and tested. With that, it's just not. In my
Fair.
opinion, it's not a good idea.
All right.
So that would be one. Using Romex, which, like I said, technical terms NM cable, but everybody calls it Romex, kind of like Kleenex is
I think
tissue.
Romex must be a brand. Is that
Romex
right?
is a brand,
Okay.
yeah. So it's like tissue and Kleenex.
Yeah.
Everybody calls it Kleenex, but it's really tissues. They using that outdoors.
Outdoor, okay.
Yeah, no, can't use that outdoors.
So-
It's not weather rated.
The reason I wanted to ask you about Romex was I was on some forum, and I want to say there was a guy in Chicago or Illinois somewhere that they must not be able to use Romex. They must
No,
have to have
that's a
everything.
Chicago thing.
They have to have everything in conduit.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Tell me more about that.
I've heard various stories of where that originated. Some say it was the Great Fire of Chicago back in the 1800s.
They didn't have Romex back in the
Right,
1800s.
they didn't have. I didn't even think they had electricity back
Knob
then.
and
So I don't
tube,
know.
right?
I don't know if that was. They might have had knob and tube around that time, but it's just kind of stuck with them. I don't know exactly what the real reason is, but I've seen people that come up here that are just baffled that we run NM cable Romex.
Yeah.
To me, it's about making sure that you're using it in the right way, in the right application, and installing it properly. It's just like anything. 50 years ago, plumbing was all copper or steel, and I'm sure that, I'm not a plumber, but I'm sure if you install PEX tubing the wrong way, or CPVC or whatever in the wrong manner, it has a chance of leaking. It's no different with I don't have a problem at all with using NM cable, Romex. It's just making sure that you're using it in the right application and installing
Fair.
it properly.
All right.
So that's just
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah, it was interesting because I didn't know that Chicago had that thing where no Romex.
Big time.
It was all conduit everywhere.
Yep.
So, which I don't know. Whatever.
It's perfectly fine. There's nothing.
It's probably
wrong with it.
better. I imagine from my point of view, I'm like, it's tougher for someone to put a screw through
It is.
conduit
It is.
rather than
It is.
Romex behind a chunk of drywall.
Yeah, it is. That's why for us we have to protect that Romex
Yeah.
from that. If it's too close, like if it's drilled through a stud too close to the front, then an inch and an eighth, you've got to put a nail plate so that someone can't shoot a screw through it. But yeah, it's not a bad installation by any means, as long as I've seen conduit not installed properly though too.
I bet.
That can cause a real issue.
I
So
bet.
it's just it's a kind of a funny thing in that area that's just they're big on.
Interesting. People can mess anything up, right?
Yeah.
Tell me, so how did the business go when you joined back with the electrician as a partner? Who came to who, and then how did that conversation go?
So I would say Brent came to me originally. The conversation was interesting. I didn't necessarily see it coming at the time, and it just gave me a lot to think about. It was one of those conversations that you leave and you're like, okay, this is interesting. This is an interesting opportunity.
Big fork in the road there.
Yeah, a big fork in the road, and just one of those things that's going to change ultimately the course of your whole career. So it was worth considering, but it didn't take long before starting to really realize the opportunity that I had in front of me, and I think, it's a gamble. Anytime you whether you're getting married, whether you're making a new friend even, or especially when you're getting married or jumping into business together, you're really putting a lot of faith in this other person.
It's a relationship.
It's a relationship, and it has to be. You have to caretake for it, and you have to be on the same page about, especially with a business, of like where do we want this to go. There's all kinds of different ways to grow a business, run a business. There's the growth mindset of we just want to grow as quickly as we can. There's the we want to just stay where we're at and keep kind of riding this train that we're on. And if you get too far off on those, I feel like it just, I don't know how it could work. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you're a driven type A person typically.
Hope so.
Right, you have to be.
Right.
And so again, two people working synergistically together can be awesome, but if you're just not on the same page, it can be really bad. I've not really experienced that in business, so I can't say that for sure, but I can just imagine how bad it would be if you were in business with someone who was just completely off base of where you wanted to go.
I can tell you it's not that fun.
Yeah.
I've had a few partnerships. Most of them are great. And I can think of one that didn't go that hot.
Yeah.
But it was just, you're young and dumb and you don't know.
Yeah. And it always could happen. But
or it starts out cool and it takes a hard left.
Yeah. and I can see where, and to be clear, like Brent and I are really good friends, one of the closest people in my life, but I don't know that being business partners with your best friends, if you're just best friends and you're like, oh, hey, we both think this is a cool idea, do a little more digging.
Taking chances.
Do a little more digging before you just jump into that endeavor.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So he reached out to you and he's like,
me.
Cole, jump on board, ditch the business you have.
Not quite like that, but he presented the what he felt was an opportunity for both of us.
Okay.
And I ultimately took the opportunity, and so jumping back in was a little bit of a paradigm change in a lot of different ways. Mainly that when you're running a company of 4 or 5 people, like as I said before, you are everything. Everything's within your immediate control, for the most part.
Yeah.
Almost
or at least
everything.
Hopefully awareness. Yeah, I don't know about control, but yeah.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
But you're really, I mean, you're in the nitty gritty of it all the time. And it took a lot for me to learn how to step back just a little bit, and it's still something I struggle with. I still, sometimes keep my hands into things I shouldn't, but learning how to really just trust others and empower others and lead others to be able to be successful and not have to be the one that makes all the decisions or puts their hands in everything was big. And I think oddly, in different ways, what makes our partnership so great, and especially right at that time, was in different ways we both did that, and we both would be able to kind of tell each other like, hey, why are you doing that? Like, why don't you just let so and so do that? That's their job. Right. They want to do that. They don't want you involved. They want you out of the way.
Delegate.
And it's a never-ending battle, I think, for me and a lot of others that are growing businesses. But that was a big paradigm shift, and then just having to jump into the management of that many more people was challenging for me.
All right.
At times, but it was super rewarding, and I've learned a lot from it and continue to learn every day.
Tell me a story about learning how to manage people. Because you learn the electrician side, learn how to connect wires, do all this crazy cool stuff in that realm. But all of a sudden you get thrown in one by starting your own business. You got to manage people. And I can tell you, I thought managing people was going to be easy, and I was very wrong.
Yep.
So what has been your experience in that world?
Well, as I said, I'm still learning.
Right?
I probably always will be. But I think for me, where do I begin with that? There's a lot there. I think the single biggest thing for me was I was brought up, and not in a bad way. Everything was direct communication, and there wasn't a lot of, especially in a work environment, it was a lot of, if you hear from me, I'm going to tell, like, you're going to hear from me if you're doing something bad. If you don't hear from me, that means things are going great. That's not an effective way to lead people.
Turns out.
Which
sucks.
And the trap you can fall into there is, you start spending all your time on people that, because inevitably you're going to have people that come in that aren't a good fit or aren't doing things right that you have to correct, and you can't let that go either. But you can't get yourself, in my opinion, to be so focused on that you don't take time for the people that are doing a good job, and not only praising them and letting them know where they stand of, hey, you're doing a great job, I really appreciate everything you're doing, but also helping them see, like, okay, what is the next step for you? How can we help you be more successful? That goes a long way. And if you are the person that's going the extra mile, working, coming in early, staying late, company means a lot to you, all of those things, and you never get any attention, or you don't feel like it's really appreciated or cared for, it ultimately a lot of times just ends up in that person being kind of like, why am I here doing this? So
Right.
I think it's a trap you can fall into if you don't put enough emphasis on really showing appreciation and letting everyone know where they stand.
Right. It's difficult
It's difficult.
because you got so much thing going on. You're like, oh, I have to thank this person
Right.
for doing their job besides just a paycheck. And it's interesting. I have that same problem because in my head, I'm like, why do I have to constantly tell you that you're appreciated? Just know that you're appreciated and we're cool. There's a thing in, I think it was Mad Men, when Don Draper's secretary is like, you never tell me that I do a good job. And he's like, I do every 2 weeks when you get paid.
Yeah. And I think that's a mentality that is, for better or worse, I think everybody would agree that with, the millennials, my generation and beyond, I think is just typically not accepted as much as it was before.
Right. Totally agree.
And if I can just go on a side for that for a second.
Please, yeah.
Again, I feel like I was raised, and I don't think it was bad in any way, but with that kind of old school mentality. And I've had many conversations with all kinds of people about, oh my gosh, the people are soft these days. And okay, you can think that if you want, but the reality is, let's look at it pragmatically, that as a business, we need to be able to connect with our people. And if showing a little appreciation is what it takes to do that, I think we should do that. And I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing that we, as a society, I guess, in business, are adopting a culture of being appreciative and valuing people for more than just what they produce. Obviously, there has to be a bar that everyone hits to be able to be on the team, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that
No, I would agree.
People are seen in that way, but it is different than how I feel like I saw growing up, not only from my dad, but just other people I worked for and things. It's different, but it's not necessarily all as bad as people make it out to be sometimes.
No, I wouldn't consider it bad other than the time that it's just one more thing.
Correct.
But
is.
On the flip side, you're building up your culture to be better. It should help your people be better because they're appreciated and all that kind of stuff. Like, you should show appreciation. So I get that.
And if you can do that, and not everyone in your industry is doing that, you're going to be that holds a lot of value.
Huge thing. Very true.
A lot of value.
Yeah. It's interesting because I guess as we're talking, I'm thinking the jobs that I had where I was actually W-2. I can't think of many times where it wasn't awkward for a boss to be like, hey, James, you did a really good job there or whatever. And I remember a boss telling that to me, and I'm like, can I get back to work? I know I'm doing a good job.
Yeah.
Just let me do my job.
Like
and it's funny because the boss probably went out of their way and just like, I got to let James know he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
And in me, I'm just like, I got other stuff to do. Like, let me do my job. Where other people are like, "Aw."
Right. It means different things to different people.
Yeah.
It holds more weight.
Correct.
More
Correct.
Weight for
So
people.
it's interesting, I guess, because from my point of view, the people that are doing a good job, that are really kicking butt, know they're kicking butt, and they don't need the pat on the back. But that is not universal. I'm learning that my feelings are not universal.
Right.
My feelings, my opinions,
Oh, definitely, yeah. That's the hardest thing to come to is not everybody has the same opinion you do.
Yeah.
Especially when you're an opinionated person. But yeah, I think that's I can't remember what question that stemmed
Well,
from.
managing.
Oh,
managing.
yeah, just manage. That was a big piece for me of managing people. And then leading people too. Just people respond, similar thought process, right? People respond differently to different types of there's different ways to lead people, and based on what you think they'll respond to. It's not a manipulative thing. I mean, I have a way that if I'm being led by someone and whatever it is, that I'll respond better than the next person.
Sure.
And just thinking that through before you just kind of make a blanket, I'm going to approach this type of situation the same way every time. Maybe think about, okay, where am I missing an opportunity to help this person along? Even if it's a difficult conversation, even if it's a conversation of, hey man, you're not cutting it, or whatever, we need this to improve. You can do that in a way that gives them the best chance in your, based on your perspective, and be a little bit more strategic about it than just, hey, you're not cutting it, you better get your act together or you're out. That's just, I think most people respond better to having a little bit more context, and sometimes you want to be a little bit softer. Sometimes some people do need a little bit more of a direct and hard
Yeah,
line.
I think it depends on the severity of the ignorance of the mistake, right?
Yeah, and the person. Some people just have. I mean, I'm one of them. I'm thick-headed. Sometimes somebody needs to say, Cole, this is how do you not see this? This is what's going on.
I'm the same way.
And then it's like, oh, boom, I woke up. Like, oh my God, yeah, you're right.
It's interesting you say that, right? Because I prefer that someone just say, dude, what are you doing?
Same.
Right?
Just tell me.
Yeah. So where it's interesting because then I say that to employees and they're like, whoa, dude, why are you coming off so strong?
Yeah.
You're like, I thought that was more efficient. I thought we're cool,
yeah.
but no, we got to sugarcoat this a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, managing people is challenging, and I think it's one of the most important things that gets overlooked in business.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
I mean, in all different sectors. Mm-hmm. Just it's the people that make the thing happen.
Yes.
Whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, again, I'm not perfect at this. I'm still learning it every day, but it's something that I think when I came in, especially as an owner, and even when I went out on my own, I didn't put enough weight. I didn't realize the amount of weight that carries. If you're going to really build a team, that you kind of have to learn how to lead people effectively. So,
absolutely. It's huge.
It's
and I was the same way. I thought it was good. Like, people, no problem. I got that dialed in.
They're getting a paycheck, right? They'll just say yes, sir, to whatever I come up with.
Yeah. You hire them, you pay them, they do their job. Everybody goes home.
Not to keep rolling down this road, but you don't. What I've learned too is you don't want the yes, sir people. Obviously, you want people to respect you. You want to earn their respect, and you want them to understand that at the end of the day, what I say is the decision, and you do have to do that. But I don't want people that just, if they think an idea is really, really bad, I don't want them to feel like, I'm not even going to bring it up because Cole's.
No, you want them to say something.
You want them to say something.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times I've, for whatever reason, had some crazy idea that somebody's like, hey, what, have you ever thought about doing it this way? Or have you realized, or did you think about the fact that, 2 weeks from now, this is going to happen if we do this? And it's like, oh my gosh, no, I wasn't thinking that, but thank you for saying something. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you don't necessarily want a bunch of people that are just yes people, but there's a fine line there too. But.
Yeah, I think I can definitely think of things that I've done that were dumb, that I didn't know they were dumb until somebody brought it up to me. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, I never thought of that.
Right.
And then you're like, thank goodness you said something. Otherwise, we would have spent over the course of decades thousands of dollars on this thing. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So I would much prefer that someone say, hey, man, think of this.
Right.
And then you can have a conversation about it.
Yep.
And maybe, whatever, just figure it out instead of just being like, yep, you must know everything. Mm-hmm. I totally do not know everything.
Yeah, no, none of us do. None of us do.
So I love it. Cole, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me get my little piece of paper here and think about who we're supposed to thank here. This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We're locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. If you're listening or watching this on the web, if you could do us a huge favor, give it the big old thumbs up, subscribe, and of course, share it with your entrepreneurial friends, especially those friends that may have some electricity running through their building or need to know something about that, which I hope that's everyone. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Cole from the Electrician Inc. Cole, can you tell us how people can get a hold of you?
Sure. So you can find us on Google. Just Google The Electrician Incorporated. You can find us online at www.theelectricianinc.com and fill out a service request, or if you're looking for employment, we have a careers section there. So that's how you find us.
That's Inc. INC.
INC, yes.
Just to make sure.
Yes.
All right. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business. And Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur and all of us, available wherever fine books are sold.